5, 4, 3, 2, 1,
Sync.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Brainstorm!
Oh my god!
The show where we use our brains to storm our minds with ideas and recreational fun so that we can do the job that the LEGO employees out there couldn't do. We're rebooting BIONICLE G3.
What was that intro?
It was dude, I don't know.
Man, that was a heavy metal version of that intro, man.
It really is.
Brainstorm! We're gonna brainstorm some ideas.
In the time before time.
There was a pitch for minifigures.
So I like how it just sounds like you're talking, but like with a kind of grungy voice or something. Like your voice is barely any deeper than it normally is.
I can make it deeper, but that would extend my vocal cords and I'd start coughing, so I don't want to do that.
Speaking of all these deep voices, let's differentiate who we are. I'm Var.
Oh, I'm Meso.
I'm Jonathan.
And I'm purple.
Once again, this is Brainstorm episode. Who cares?
It's like 6.
It's I'm sure it's like 6. It doesn't matter because like these things come out at such a strange frequency.
They do.
Hey, man.
What's even the release schedule for this?
It's Wednesday, right?
Is it Wednesday
now?
Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's Saturday today.
It's Saturday when we record it. It's Wednesday when we
It's
release.
pretty much the only way we can pace podcasts. By like one on
Right.
Monday, one on
So
Wednesday, one on Friday.
Monday's brick feed. Monday's brick
Monday,
feed.
Wednesday, Friday. That's our release
Okay.
schedule.
What's on Sunday? What do we do Sunday?
Nothing.
We do literally nothing on Sunday.
I have no idea. Like Sunday and Saturday kind of confuse me. I'm not really sure what's supposed
Same.
to come out.
I actually don't
Reply,
know.
I think on one of those days.
Yeah.
I've got
Oh,
art
yeah,
parts if
dude.
you guys ever need that.
Like reply was like Sunday for the last 2 weeks, but I'm not sure what we have scheduled for Saturday today.
Nothing.
Aren't we supposed to have the Road to Brick Fair on Saturdays? Kind of.
Oh well, maybe because they were Wednesday before. Now they're not.
Now they're not. Yeah, because we have to leave them somewhere. Okay.
That's probably it. Road to Brick Fair. Oh, Art Farts is Saturday then.
Is it?
Is it?
It's been released on Wednesdays before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but we replaced the Wednesday day with a podcast.
What's
day.
Tuesday?
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, what is Tuesday?
I thought it's Art Farts. I thought Art Farts is Tuesday.
Okay, well,
hey guys, we're professional
whatever
company,
day-
TTV.
Whatever day that Art Farts is on is the day that Road to Brick Fair is on. They're interchangeable.
Right, because it's every week. There we go. Except we don't have.
Yeah, then that is
okay.
Wednesday.
Okay,
No, it's not Wednesday.
Now we're gonna move it to
establish that we moved to the date from Wednesday.
We're gonna move it to. Let's do Saturday from now on because
Wednesday is now podcast day. Purple.
Okay.
we should just we'll talk about this later.
TTV Brainstorms channel schedule.
the show where we don't talk about Bionicle.
Gonna brainstorm.
I mean, who wants to talk about Bionicle? Am I right? We'd rather
Not
talk about our
really,
own
to be
actual
Dead
lives.
twice.
Yeah,
our
let's talk
channel's
we can talk
still
about
alive.
Ninjago.
We can talk.
We can talk about
guys. We're gonna have to
Elves.
cancel G3.
really. We could just do Elves G2 and it would be
Wouldn't that be
way more
interesting?
successful. Because Elves
No one
is
likes Bionicle.
Elves is better than Bionicle. Put that in the title, Messa.
Yes.
You can-
It will go
that'll
absolutely
Elves is
perfect.
better than Bionicle.
Perfection.
What other controversial thing could we like bring up that would just trigger people immediately?
Hero Factor.
Pterodax is better than the Makuta.
Pterodax is better.
Jeez.
Yes.
Oh man, is Pterodax a character in G3?
No, well, maybe he could be, but we're sticking with Makuta for the name.
Yeah, definitely sticking with
Could he
Makuta.
be like a breakfast cereal?
Pterodax.
Get your pterodaxes today.
Terrataxis.
Make sure to pay your terror taxes, Tora.
It's like the version of the IRS. They go around. Like Brotherhood of Makuta is just like the IRS. You know, the people like they go around collecting taxes.
Maybe that's like what's in
Equifax.
Kokoro or whatever.
That's-
like,
yeah, no,
since
that's-
they're
that's
like
all
merchants
the-
and stuff.
Gorast and like Krika. All those guys are
The
like,
IRS.
excuse me, sir, I'm from the IRS. I'm from Pterodaxes,
Yes.
and I'm here to.
This
take
is a
your-
pretty good Pterodaxes. It's like a parody.
Funny.
I thought you said paradoxes. I thought they were making a pun on paradoxes.
I didn't.
But, okay, I mean it just
Well,
sounded
that
more
means
like
you've
paradoxes.
got selective hearing. You're only hearing what you want to hear, buddy.
I think that you could
I have
done a quicker
selective
job.
hearing.
Do you?
Purple.
You do. Yeah, she does.
Apparently, I mean, she literally demonstrated that like a minute ago while we
No,
were
she
like,
does.
Wednesday is no longer Art Farts Day, and then she immediately followed that with, oh yeah, that means Art Farts is Wednesday.
Yeah. It's pretty weird.
I mean,
Anyway.
yeah.
It's pretty odd.
So, last week, we discussed episode 1 of our BIONICLE TV show.
And it went swimmingly.
In which we are rebooting our BIONICLE G3 reboot inside of a pilot TV series that would be launched on Cartoon Network, I believe is what we established.
Yep.
2 10-episode seasons per year, launching on Cartoon Network, covering the winter and summer waves respectively.
Yeah, and as Carva Pumpkin has mentioned in the chat, we are not going to be talking about that, and instead we're going to revisit the leg debate, because I feel like that's something that we really need to establish before we can move on and progress. So...
Purple,
Do
strap
the
yourself in. We're
Rockshi
gonna
have
talk about
articulated
really
legs or
2-hour
not?
long live stream.
That is the question.
Ooh. Ooh.
What?
I mean, if they're
So-
like jumbo minifigures, then that might be cool.
Like Lyrac.
It also depends.
Can
on
Lyrac
stuff.
articulated legs or tail? That's the question.
So I've actually started the script for episode 1, a script at least, my draft of 1.
It looks perfect.
No one has
Mar.
read it, so there's not really any way for us to progress
I
from
was
that.
particularly
I'm
enthused by Tahu's
I'm
character
on
plate.
page 9. I'm at page 9, dude. I'm nearly done.
I'm proud of you, dude.
I
I'm proud
can't
of you.
read fast at all, so I'm sorry.
I literally
can't do
read
much, can you?
3 books
I
yesterday.
could speed run, but like I must literally be in my own little world because I didn't read the script because I didn't know where it was posted, and I still haven't seen where it was posted.
It's
I
okay.
mean,
I'm sure
we
It's
should
not
just-
surprising to
Okay,
me
yeah.
because you've been so inactive recently. I can imagine.
Meso,
I'm
you
always learning.
missing out on it.
Okay, listen. For the past 5 years, it's 2017. Good grief! For the past 7 years, you've been on the line almost every day. Not every day, but like almost every day. I've talked to you for like the past 7 years, give or take vacation breaks.
Yeah,
and
this is
whatever.
really relevant to our G3 discussion.
No, I'm just saying that like you're right.
Well,
It's
he didn't
been
read
a
your
long
script
time.
because of it.
We've all. And I'm saying that the reason we haven't done it is because we've not been together for a good while. It's
We were there
just,
literally just the other night, but we watched it instead of reading this.
Do you know how long it took us to organize that,
We had
though?
to set that up
Yeah, it
for
was
like
like
6
5
days.
days
though.
when Ben couldn't make it.
That was quite a
Any one of
journey
those
getting
days.
that scheduled.
Dude, that was obnoxious. I never want to sync you anything ever again.
Hey, bro,
so
let's watch a
done,
movie
dude.
tonight.
No, that completely ruined any
No.
idea of sync viewing for me.
I think we
honestly.
should stop scheduling it. Just watch it.
Agreed.
Yeah.
We should just be
Yeah.
like, you want to watch X today? But it only works if it's something no one else wants to see. You want to watch Inhumans? Let's watch Inhumans. Who cares if anyone's there or not? Let's do it. So, long
It's a
story
cool
short.
script. I like
yeah.
it.
No, I like the script so far.
Yeah.
There's some stuff
like how
I'm like, oh,
professional
I'd
it
rewrite.
looks.
I particularly did
it's
like
just
the
the
scene
program
with
purple.
the kid in Narmoto, where we had that introduction.
I wrote.
Oh, did you actually read that?
I'm reading it right now.
Oh, okay.
Well, he's
I'm
more
really
head
busy
than I
now.
am.
Are we gonna
Hey,
like
Var,
post
link
this
it.
to the fans so they can see or not?
I think we should go through a rewrite, one rewrite
could.
first. Before
Yeah, because
we-
it's only a first draft. I was
Yeah.
hoping that someone would read it and we could like do our changes to it before this started.
Yeah.
I have
No one read it, so.
No, I read the first 2 pages. I have some things about the
Okay,
first pages.
yes, but like in terms of reading it so that we can make changes to it before the episode, no one read it. You
true.
only read 2 pages.
I like how Vakama exists.
And the comment does exist, so does Takua.
Scribble's like
Balta.
scrolling through. Oh, that's a name. That's all in capital letters. I can read that. Oh, Balta's in here too. No way.
Good old Balta, best character ever.
Yeah, I actually couldn't remember where we decided. I think we decided to end it before Narmoto gets arrested, right? But I actually included the Narmoto arresting in
No,
this
I think that's
first
good.
draft.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah,
think we should end on that conflict.
Okay.
Quote unquote end on that
Cliffhanger.
conflict.
What'll
Right.
happen to our hero, our protagonist? He's going to jail.
Find out after this commercial break.
Find out next week. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So not everyone's had a chance to read it. I don't know if we should just spoil everything that's going to be in it.
Yeah,
that-
spoil
for,
it.
for the sake of talking.
Yeah,
Okay,
just,
cool.
just for the sake of talking about it. So all right. I wrote a tiny bit of the first part of what I was going to write as my script while I was on vacation this last week. And so the one thing that we kind of had the same idea. I mean, we pitched the whole thing of the narration at the beginning. I had some ideas about what is actually on screen as the island's being created. So in your script, Var, you just kind of have a historical
I don't really
montage.
delve into that.
Right,
Yeah,
you don't
I
really
just
delve
say,
into that.
like, insert thing.
Right. So, yeah, I don't know if you want to talk about that real quick or.
You brought it up.
Sure,
so
go for it.
I hope you were gonna follow up.
Honestly, the intro part Like I just kind of, it was like a thing that I needed to
Backstory or
include in the
legend?
script so that I could move on to the parts that I actually wanted to write. So
That's fair. No, we'll,
Yeah.
we'll combine stuff.
yeah,
That's fair.
I mean, it's not directly, related to what the actual story of the episode was going to be about. So that's why it was like,
The one big change that I had is that it starts off with the Matoran filing into the the room, and there's like a dim candlelight, and they're all holding light stones. It's like flickering, and it looks super dark and occultish. And then like Norik's at the end, and he starts with gathered friends.
Rockshi Norik or human Norik?
And
Matoran.
then we go human Norik. We don't see them become the Rockshi yet.
Matoran
Matoran
Norik.
Norik.
Matoran Norik, not
Matoric.
human Norik. Man, that's gonna raise a whole other. That could actually have an implication, Mesa. Like we could have gone with that human bionicle thing. Remember that?
Yeah.
We were talking about that ages ago. All right.
Was that ever a consideration?
No,
An idea.
it was just like a stupid idea.
I
we're
wouldn't
throwing
mind
out.
human bionicle.
I wouldn't mind it either, but it's okay. People would mind it, so that's why
Oh,
we
yeah.
do it. Okay,
So
so
how does it feel to be added about the story Bible when you had no part in it?
Feels good, man. I like it. Okay. Well, out of curiosity, why are you asking me for a meme? No, the story Bible exists. There's a story behind it.
There is.
So. Anyway,
I will
yes.
actually. Speaking of the story Bible, should I? I'm gonna go ahead and post that.
Do
all right,
it.
let's post the
Surprise
story
fans.
Bible. We are
We
launching
are
the story
releasing
Bible
the story Bible
to
right
patrons
now.
only right now, and then everyone else later.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do a public release later.
It might not be 100% complete, but it's almost there. So, check it.
No, it's not. It's definitely not 100% complete. I should probably take out permissions to edit.
Yeah, no, please
Oh.
do that right now. Now, whoa.
Before it's griefed. Grief.
I mean, listen, it's our patrons. I don't really think they're gonna destroy anything, but even still.
Please don't.
You never
bro.
know.
Lahari's
because the
revenge
chaos.
for it taking so long. He wipes it from the face of the earth.
Oh,
Hold on, we can check the history. So legit, if any of you do something, we will find you.
We will
And-
make your life very unpleasant.
Can
Brick
you
Fair
can you add
2018.
me back though to the Thingvar?
No.
Thank you.
What email do you use?
can I have editing permissions?
Can you
THE
be patient?
Jonathan John, just like my username on Twitter.
I never know how to spell your freaking name though.
J
There's
O
only
N A.
A's, right? No O's.
There's no
Oh, John.
Jonathan. Oh, you
Jonathan.
can see his name on Discord right now.
Jonathan J.
She's got a point though. Click on my thing, man. It's like
Yeah. Okay, I see it.
there
At Gmail.
at Gmail.
Yeah, now you all know John's
Yeah, I hope
email.
you get spammed with email.
Good grief! Nobody send me stuff.
Is that rocket
Alright.
science?
Can you censor it? Censor it in the thing. It'll just be like, then everyone can comment and like,
Dude,
man,
that's way more work than
Is
anyone's
that like
gonna be
your
willing to
email
put
is
into
like
it.
difficult to discern?
Yeah, I mean, it's your name, dude. It's the same
Your
thing you
Twitter
use for
handle like the
everything.
generic
It's true.
email.
I also put the business email on the channel.
Like,
so.
spoiler alert, what's my email? You know?
Blaziken1110 at yahoo.com.
I was gonna say who has the real name not public? Who's like skittish about that?
Purple.
Apparently, people. My real name wasn't public for the longest time, even though it was. But apparently, a lot of people thought I revealed my name and Road to Brick Fair.
Oh yeah, like,
yeah, no,
I
I've been
saw
on the
that.
cast page for years now.
Yeah, it's been public for years.
Mess
At
it was
this
your
point,
name?
it's just purple. My name is public.
your name's
I have my
public.
Twitter
Okay.
handle.
Yeah, I forgot because I was as a joke I was Tyler Anderson verified because I forget where it was. I just said like it was I was supposed to respond about TTV and I said, all right, what's your
You have
username?
a
And I said,
history of impersonating me, dude.
dude.
Back when we were called Microsoft support, you impersonated me.
The guy said, what's your name, please? And I said, it's Tyler Anderson. I was like, what? Why did you do that? I'm gonna do that now. From now on.
Great Bionicle discussion, guys.
Okay.
All right.
Well, you get the story Bible. I'm hoping anyone listening to this is looking at the story Bible right now and not caring.
It's
what we're
broken
saying.
down into many different categories, as you can clearly see. The history of the island, the world, characters.
Yeah, honestly, I could easily see there being
Regions.
another 30 pages being added to this. if I'm being
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah, no, like
It
from right
is-
now, definitely.
Yeah, there's still a lot of stuff we need to add to it.
But
You
I
can
do
also
think it's
scroll
important.
down and see the beginnings of my personal favorite section, the meta rules, which is the rules governing our telling of the story. And that's incomplete. There's still more stuff we have
There's
to
still more
add,
stuff.
but
We should actually
we have
talk
to give
about
that a
that.
lot of thought.
Right. The biggest thing, the thing I had to make clear is that there is no backwards applying time travel where someone from the future changes the past. That does not happen. And then there's all these like separate
but
rules.
that would be really cool and stuff.
No, we will not do that. Anyway, so
not do
episode 2, I'm thinking that Tahu's going to get the Mask of Time, go back in time, and beat up Makuta, and then we can really
can
establish
end it.
those ground rules.
No, right, and then he goes back to the future, and all the generals are different. They're all more successful and everything. He's
Exactly.
like, wow.
Everything's good.
And he has his
except Holly
girlfriend.
turns out to be evil.
Interesting.
What if we did that, but it's like a fever dream? They never actually transferred back in time. It's just like
Play
one of those
upon
like
the
Halloween
idea.
special episodes.
Oh my gosh. It's like
Bionicle
hallucinating.
Halloween special.
Or no, it's like in Ninjago the Venomari Venom or something, but instead it's like Bionicle and he's just
No,
like...
wait, no. That would totally be
hallucinating.
cool. Like, imagine like it's Ernok infecting one of their dreams, and it's like a horror episode, and like
That would actually be pretty sweet.
yeah, and it
It's like
takes
a
all place in
it's
the
like a
mind.
Halloween musical, like Nightmare Before Christmas.
Or it's like it's a
Instead of
battle in
this
the
is Halloween,
mind.
it's this is Fever Dream.
I just had an idea. Okay, it's like the mask control trying to take control of Taku's mind, and he's fighting his way out of it, and that's why everything's like so crazy and everything.
That could be a pretty cool idea, actually.
Man, anyhow.
Like a one-off, I'd watch that.
That's really cool, dude. Anyway, so back to actually talking about Chronicle and our progression. So obviously we had our episode 1. John, you were mentioning your rewrites for the intro and stuff.
Yes, yeah. Okay. Basically, the way I was envisioning it is, as she's telling the story, the main thing we're going to see is the two brothers, and they're always going to be kind of shrouded in, not shadow, but like kind of silhouettes. So you don't know who's who, and that's the big deal coming into this, because it's going to reveal at the end that Norik is talking about Makuta, and there's this whole... It is going to be... We're going to have to explain this later on to the audience who doesn't know anything about Bionicle, but for the people who do know, this is going to be kind of a wake-up call, or like a oh, okay, this is different kind of deal. They get the in-joke, they get what's going on. So the idea is that the island, when I envision the island being like built, and I know this will kind of go back into the style of the show, but I actually kind of imagine it kind of like a time lapse of someone building an island, if that makes sense. Like if you were to build an island with Lego, so like the great beings descend, and then like they raise their hands, and then you see like this island being kind of built
Master
out of
builder powers.
yeah, kind of out of Lego. On the thing, and it's just like a giant landmass, and then as they're talking, he talks more. Nork will talk more about they created the world and they created life, and then you see all the great stuff come out. I said the last episode that like there would be one moment where like Nork will talk about Nork will say like but he was betrayed. And the implication is that Makuta is implied to be Chemo. We don't know that yet. And as he's saying that, as he's like, but the Great Spirit was betrayed. And as you see that, you see the Matoran kind of like come out, and they're like, this is their first like awakening in the world. And so looking back at it, you'll realize the betrayal is Ikimu creating the Matoran to begin with, and that's what they're taught with. Ikimu betrays Makuta by creating life. But at this moment, in the montage, you don't actually get that. It's just kind of like that thing. So just added things that tie into world building, and we'll be able to be touch upon later on. And then the flora and everything will be there. We'll see the elemental beings being built. We will not see the Toa, and I'm actually I don't know about this. I don't know if you should see this Toa at this montage or not. When he says cast into a deep slumber or something. I don't know if we're going to see the Toa
are necessary to mention by name. They could perhaps be shown.
Do you think they should be
As
shown?
silhouettes of energy,
I
or even
am,
just bright lights.
I think
I'm still a little hesitant about starting the show off with an unreliable
narrator. I understand that it's like it is interesting, how that would be portrayed and how the audience would take it. I do think we find someone that sounds ominous enough, and the reason why I have the beginning shot of like all the creepy people going to the creepy room is to imply that, hey, maybe this is not what it seems. And so the audience has that kind of doubt when they're going and hearing this narration. And if the presentation of the guy is like kind of darker and creepier, and the guy has his more villain sounding his voice, by the time you get to the end, maybe you'll figure out something's not right. Especially if you happen to know anything about Bionicle beforehand. And the name Makuta is, I feel, recognizable enough that you can be like, and even if you don't, we will explain it later on.
Yeah. I mean, I think the majority of the people watching the show are not going to know anything about Bionicle beforehand.
No, I mean, I think you're right, but
I don't feel like the unreliable narrator is unreliable enough to where delivering the exposition in that manner.
Well, the problem
becomes
is we're giving a backstory to the show and the island and its creation and everything, but none of that information is correct. So at some point we have to give the information again, but do it correctly.
Yeah, that'll happen with the elemental gods. When he talked to Takua, he'll briefly mention that like evil people, followers of Makuta, have imprisoned the island. They believe
after the two-parter, the intro will open with like an avatar, thing anyway. So that explanation will be shortened and condensed and retold over the course of the other 8 episodes. This one's just the intro stinger.
I still feel like it'd be pretty confusing for.
I think
picking up the show.
I think it does depend on the execution of it. It's a thing that like I understand the conceptually you feel that there might be concerns. I feel like in execution there would be much less confusion.
I don't know, man. I'm not convinced. Like, I mean, I even wrote it in my script, and I'm still like, I'm not really in favor of that. But I don't know.
Let's do it. Concept.
Maybe if your script has some like huge changes, I'll see. But I don't know.
Yeah, we'll do it right.
Like, I just don't see like the exposition is still true.
Right.
That's my thing. There is a betrayal. There is, there were great beings who created the Matoran. There was all this stuff, so it's not like the intro is lying to you. It's just
it is
framed in a
lying
manner.
to you in the sense that you're not exactly sure who you're supposed to be rooting for.
Yeah, like you're led to believe like multiple different things and stuff.
Well, I think we can
and you're getting mixed messages all in the first 2 episodes, in which the entire premise of the show that you have established is not actually true.
So what I would do is also include obvious language at the end of this, where so here I'll give you an example, right? At the end of the montage is like, even though the Great Spirit has been fallen, we, his chosen, will cleanse the world of the unworthy, and then we'll revive a Great Spirit, Makuta, and then like because of the wording that's being used in this, you can kind of get these people are not going to be the heroes.
I don't know, man. I still think that might be a little too wordy. Not wordy, but like I feel like the context in which you're going to be getting would be from the word usage that I'm not sure everybody would pick up on immediately.
Well, it may be the word usage alongside the visual imagery, alongside the performance by our voice actor, who I'm assuming is going to sound like a villain. Like when we cast him, we want him to sound like someone's evil. So the added combination of both the language he's using, the performance, and also visually, you see a bunch of people doing something that does not look heroic. It looks rather dark. It looks kind of semi-occultish, villainous in that regard. So that impression will be carried through.
Yeah. I feel like it's the kind of thing, the only way you're going to be able to convince John is going to be a proof of concept.
Yeah.
Which is easier said than done.
Especially like on a visual scale. And also like I can't narrate the thing. I can't do the villainous voice per se, but
I'll do it. I'll go super villainous.
You want to go super villainous, Meso?
Long ago, in the time before...
I know, I'm kidding.
That almost sounds too campy.
Yeah, it is.
It sounds like you sound like you're the...
I guess I'm just like, in terms of unreliable narrators, usually when those are included in the plot, it's because the basis of, the film or the show or whatever you're doing is based around the fact that the information that you're being given is incorrect.
Right.
So the whole point and premise of the narrative is that this information is incorrect, and that's going to continue throughout the narrative and be a part of the plot point. But here, it's not really part of our plot point at all. It really is kind of just a little like gag at the start to
Well,
kind of poke
it's not
at the
necessarily
old fans.
It's not necessarily a gag. It's something that shows you the motivation of the villain up front, and then you get introduced to the heroes, and the heroes get the full story. I mean, pretty early on into the second episode.
I feel like if you're because this is going to be like the audience's first impression, I feel like it should be like very truthful and stuff like that. Like, it doesn't have to reveal every single like little secret or anything, but it should. Everything that's revealed should at least be mostly true, or whatever. Because otherwise, it's like it's.
My problem with it is that it's the very first thing that the audience is going to pick up on is information that's not going to be correct, and it doesn't necessarily serve the overall narrative at all, other than giving the villain some motivation, I guess. But like, we don't really know what's true.
No,
and what
I mean,
though.
it does serve the most of this. Again, like Meso was saying, most of the stuff in this intro is correct. And
The only line
parts,
in this
the only parts
intro
that aren't
per the
correct
script
are just from a different point of view. Every action that happens in this intro is what happens. There's no lies. It's just a different point of view of what happens.
The only thing in this intro that could be construed as a lie is the phrase 6 elemental monsters to enslave us versus heroes. And then later you'll learn, oh, that's from the perspective of, you know, people who view Makuta as being enslaved.
Like, I understand
rest-
if they're completely lying about how everything came to be, if it's a false
Great
narration.
beings, 2 brothers, check. Matorans were created, island paradise, check. Gave us purpose, 3 virtues, check. Followed their command on the island thrived. One of the brothers grew arrogant and selfish, kind of true. Betrayed the other. 6 elemental monsters, yeah, that's a thing. They enslaved the creators, turned on them. Great beings were defeated. And then I suppose there is the line about the evil corruption that could perhaps be retooled or added as John says.
We could
after message.
We could tweak some of the language to make it sound more sinister, possibly. But the additional thing besides, you know, this
Well, I think
also,
where Var's going, I don't think you would want it to be tweaked to sound more sinister. I think you want it to be tweaked to sound more accurate.
Yeah.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
The more
though.
sinister it is, the more confusing it is, honestly.
And I feel, I mean, okay, I'll give you a separate example. If you look at BIONICLE G1, it's exactly what they did. They told a version of the story that wasn't true.
That's true. The most popular,
but that wasn't
form of Bionicle storytelling is a lie.
That was confusing, though. That wasn't a good thing, though. They told a version of the story that everybody believed to be fact until it was revealed later on in the story, like 5 years later, that in fact wasn't true, and it ticked everyone off.
Did it really take everyone off?
It's one of the things that we complained about to this day, is that the story that we were told, the 2 brothers story, was not true.
Only because it was different.
We had
in
a whole
tone.
podcast about it.
Only because they're not actually brothers.
Yeah, that's why. It's because like
they changed the premise.
I don't really care
I
don't really care that they're robots.
Wait, no,
rocks.
the twist.
I care that they're not brothers.
Yeah, the what you're talking about on the same level is if it turns out that Makuta, like Maranui, is actually evil and Makuta's trying to save him. That's the level of the twist we're talking about. In G1, the reason we hate it is because Maranui is a giant robot, Makuta's just a random person, and they aren't actually brothers. They have no history together. There's nothing, you know.
Wow, that's really dumb.
Right, exactly.
Right,
That's dumb.
I think it's dumb, but you brought it up as though that was an example of a successful change from the original premise, and I don't think it is.
No, I'm saying that necessarily that the audience can still accept a different
With
narrative
5
beginning.
years worth of change going into it, yes.
Really, I didn't build it up at all. It just happened all at once. But I mean, that's the additional flaw with Bionicle G1 is that there is no build up. There's
my point is that you had 5 years to establish the ground rules of the world. The premise could change because you already know everything else around it.
I mean, again, this is just establishing the premise of the world too. There's nothing in it that's against the premise of the world. Whether someone is a hero or a monster is not against the premise of the world. It's just how someone perceived them. You know, there's nothing in it.
But then that's also how like the audience perceives them, and that'll carry on throughout.
We'll correct that very initially early on, and it's very clear that these people are the villains.
I don't know, man. What is the purpose of establishing this scene early on like this?
I mean, the premise is it's a different way of showing the initial legend. Because we've heard a version of this legend 3 times.
There is
We've
no
heard
different
good
way.
guy legend
None of the
time and time again.
none of the people who are watching the show have ever heard the legend before.
I won't say none.
I would say none.
Well, a small amount have heard it, maybe.
But sure, fair enough. Small amount.
Listen, we're not going to be pushing this new G3 relaunch towards older fans. The people that are going to be watching the show weren't even alive during G1's run. Jesus, Meso, come on. What is going on?
I'm dying, dude. This is making me ill.
Half the people that would end up, like, by the time, let's say that we actually worked for LEGO, the show that we are making right now actually did get greenlit and launched. Right. Half the people who are going to see this first episode weren't even alive for G2.
Sad but
conscious
true.
for G2.
That's true.
These people don't know what the old legend is.
I guess I'm not saying necessarily it's a reference with the old legend.
I'm not comparing it so much to
way.
Bionicle as I am
Right.
just to media in general. The wise mentor delivering an exposition dump's been done to death, and it will continue to be done to death in 10 years.
Well, I mean, it's
when
been
a new
done to
audience
death as
of
an
kids.
adult, where you've had the chance to consume all these different, products where they are doing this kind of thing in the intro, I guess.
Yeah, but cliches don't reset each generation. I guess they do for someone's
they
personal
do.
experience, but there's still storytelling. Cliches storytelling doesn't get unwritten. It's there in the backlog.
Well, sure, for a writer, yes. Not for a consumer.
I mean, you do also have to be aware that both consumers, I guess consumers are not as dumb, essentially, as that, where they'll always be surprised by the new cliches.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that the consumer is dumb. I'm saying the consumers for this product have no idea what the original legend was. So the idea behind writing a new version of this legend that's, subverts or that is meant to be purely a subversion of something we've heard before, despite most people watching this have never having heard it before, is kind of a silly premise to start off with.
What Meso brought up, I feel, is what I was getting at, is where it's not necessarily they've heard the exact Bionicle legend before. Sure, most of them probably haven't, but they have heard the premise, the opening narration to every show ever.
No, they haven't. What? They've
heard the opening premises to multiple different other shows, just not
to
show.
the shows running concurrently with this one, sure.
Right, I mean, you're also assuming this is the first show anyone's going to ever see, right?
Yeah, but what other show is opening up with a legendary tale of whatever is going on in the island and
Avatar,
stuff?
Airbender, technically Steven Universe.
What? These kids aren't watching Avatar. These kids weren't alive when Avatar ran.
I know. That's what I'm saying. There's going to be more shows in between. In between now and whenever we pitch and the show airs.
Fantasy shows
but
aren't gonna
you're
stop
naming
between,
shows that have since
Avatar.
ended. What shows currently running have actually started with this supposed cliche?
I mean, it's still possible, but
You mentioned Steven Universe. Is that true?
No. Steven Universe does not start with
Technically,
with an opening legend at all.
He talks about
about stuff. It's not introduced in the same way.
He talks
as
about very
G3.
vague concepts that are kept hidden until later in the season.
Yeah.
Uh,
I actually don't know. Did Ninjago start in this way, Purple?
It didn't.
I don't actually think it did.
It did not start off with a legend. There was a legend in the intro for season 1, but not the two. I don't think the two prior episodes.
Yeah. There was an
So I'm
intro,
thinking.
but
Yeah, there was an intro.
Cool.
I'm trying to think
So,
of
yeah.
any kids TV show they have. How about Voltron? What does Voltron start with, Purple?
I think it just jumps right into it. There's not really a legend until all the characters are grouped up and they meet Princess Allura, which isn't until the end of the first episode, which is extra long or whatever.
My point is that the whole reason you're doing this scene is specifically to subvert a cliche that, for most of our audience, doesn't even exist.
And is it really the
This
most
isn't really a
awful
thing that's
cliche
actually that
to
common.
have?
No, I
don't think it is either. I think the plot does suffer a little bit because I think you're giving our audience the wrong impression from the start.
I don't think so. I think part of the issue is treating the audience like they're not able comprehending any sort of twists or reading in between the lines.
I mean,
it's not,
that's
it's
possible,
not even
but
it's not really a twist though. It's not setting up any kind of narrative twist at all. It's something that you're planning on like revealing within that episode or the very next episode. So I don't get the point of it other than a nod to G1 fans.
It's I mean, it is a nod to G1 fans.
I feel like it's
and that is a
emblematic
point.
of our theme's focus on the villains and morally gray tone to not make things as black and white. I feel like it's a meta commentary on the difference of perspectives early on and establishing that throughout the duration of the show.
Well, we were already planning on doing that by revealing that Akimu isn't the greatest person ever.
Totally,
and
we can still convey that
beings
during the show. But like, that's why I envisioned we would set that precedent with the intro.
Right, but that works for me because that's a plot point that's going to be established throughout the show and built up towards in the show, because throughout the show our Toa characters are believing in Akimu as their savior character, and that Makuta is, the evil, but the whole point is that he's not really the great evil. None of the great beings are that evil. That actually is a plot point, and that's worth developing, but having that in the introduction where you're planning on completely, getting rid of that immediately doesn't serve the same purpose. It's once again, it's just there to be a nod to either G1 fans or subvert a cliche that doesn't really exist.
It's not just subverted cliche. It's setting up a villain motivation that we're not going to find out until late into the season.
We're going to find that out in Liwa's episode, the villain's motivation.
We're going to find out we're going to follow one person's journey into this motivation, but we don't have an idea. We still have 3 episodes where the Roxy are attacking, and we don't know what they're doing. And we don't need to.
That's
we
the
don't
whole
need to delve
point is that
into
we don't know what's going on. We're following the Toa as they're learning what's going on. They don't know what's going on. We should be following their perspective.
They still don't know what's going on. It's just the motivation behind it.
No, we don't need to know the motivation behind our villains right off the bat.
We don't need to not know it either.
We should be following our Toa and keeping our narrative cohesive.
All right, let's play with this for, let's say you have that. All right, so how do you envision this going? Then who narrates it? If it's not Norik, if we're not showing anything, because again, the whole the intro focuses around Norik, and it ends with them. You can see them using the Mask of Time. You can see the energy going around the island, and that will tie in later when Tahu sees the same energy. You know where that came from. Is the villains doing something, right?
To be honest, I don't necessarily think the introduction needs this legend at the very start. This is something that could be told to Tahu by the Elemental Lord after he becomes Tahu. We're already planning on him having that conversation there. I think we can just jump into the story immediately.
My attachment towards this legend in the pilot was only if we were going to do it from the villain's perspective. If we're not actually going to go through with that, I actually agree. It can just be done in subsequent episodes by Tahu.
If we're not gonna have it done by the villains, then it's too much of a cliche to have. We can have it in episode 2, anyways. If we're gonna be a 2-parter that's a link together. You know what? Here's what we could do. Okay. All right. This should actually work. So we'll jump right into it with the first episode, and we'll figure out how that's gonna work. But halfway through, or at the beginning of the second episode, the entirety of the legend gets told by the elemental god Akir to Narmoto, right before he becomes Tahu. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then at the beginning of episode 3, we have a kind of they have a shortened version in Avatar where I believe Aang can save the world, and then that's basically it. It's like fire, water, air, fire. Yeah. So we will have a shortened version of Akir. So Akir will be our narrator. That was a big thing for me. I didn't know who was going to be the narrator, because Vakama isn't a big deal in this one at all. So Akira will be the narrator, and he'll tell what happened. But then on the 9th episode, for Norik's episode, he will have the other intro. He'll have his intro where he's narrating, and
that makes way more sense.
He tells his story, and then it leads into his thing. All right, there we go. Yeah,
that I like.
Yeah. Okay.
I like it.
So then it's actually subversion. It's a version of what the audience has seen before. Yeah. Okay. So that solves everything. There we go.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Cool.
Okay, all right.
Glad that could be figured out.
Yay.
All right.
The legend's not told to the Toa by Ikimu. Ikimu is, I feel like that's putting him.
Ikimu's out of commission. Ikimu is pretty much in the same place as Makuta at this moment.
Right.
Whether he even shows up is still undecided. Yeah. Anyway.
All right.
Okay. So we figured out part of the intro there. That's obviously part of the rewrites that are going to happen there. Aside from that, do we want to delve further into what actually happens in episode 1 based off the script?
Not opposed. We're already this far in.
Let's go.
Go down the rabbit hole.
Okay. So currently the script's I don't even know what word to use. Formatting, pacing, whatever.
Right.
The current script, we start off in the burning village that we talked about last week.
Yep, good call.
And it starts off with a kid's perspective, kind of, where he's like sort of huddled up in the debris as sounds of explosions and screaming and stuff is happening outside. Tahu comes in to save, Narmoto at this point comes in to save him, and they make it back to the Takura, the main village. So the one thing that I added here that I kind of just threw in, I don't know if that's something that we're in favor of or not. I made the kid Takua.
No, I don't know.
We're never gonna do anything with Takua.
I know, but the audience will expect us to, the extended audience, and so
But
I don't know.
thought you were so big on subverting.
No.
I thought you were big on subverting expectations.
I am, and that's why I'm wondering, like, do we want to bring up this thing where we get the fan theories and all this stuff, or like, because that's gonna, people are like, Takua is
Well,
eventually
the
gonna come
fandom
back.
can have their fun, but that doesn't mean
let
that
the
every
fandom do their own
theory.
theorizing.
What
has
I'm
to be
wondering
correct,
is, it's the same thing with like the Hellrix and the what was the other
Oh
one?
my god, not again.
I don't
Tia
know who
thing.
Hellrix is, dude.
Okay, don't worry about it. Are we wasting this name? That's a very important name. For are we okay with?
We
putting
already
this-
got Boriki as our 7th
There is
co-host,
a-
so in
Yeah,
my
I-
opinion, no.
I'm not sure where you think that we would ever use a
I don't know
Takua
either.
character
I don't know
outside
either.
of a character like this.
Bionicle G4.
I don't know. I initially thought the kid would be named.
If
Binga,
I had my
to
way,
be
I would
honest.
never use Takua in
Actually,
G3
in
at
my
all.
script, the kid was mute, so he never said his name at all. The kid was like permanently, he just couldn't say anything because I also didn't want to have a kid actor because I feel like that would ruin stuff. So he has like the Lloyd syndrome. So he just can't talk, and like he just shakes his head and nods and points.
I think it
But
should
fair
be
enough.
a meta rule that we should start adding here that we shouldn't do things specifically because G1 did it.
No, well,
I
I'm
also
saying
feel like we
should
shouldn't do
not
things
something.
specifically with the fandom in mind, because that can like
Yeah,
kinda
with a
skew
previous
things.
fandom in mind, because the whole point here is that we're trying to establish a completely new fandom.
No, I
So
think you're right.
obviously, older fans will gravitate towards this. Hopefully, if it's good, they'll come back and see this and be like, "Yeah, this is good." But like, we are not making this for old fans.
I totally get it, but okay, I'll give you an example, right? In Spider-Man Homecoming, they make a reference to Miles Morales. That is a very important name. That is a character that people are like, oh, he might become
For
Spider-Man.
a character that
Well,
is
yeah, that's
still
also, like,
relevant
mainstream too.
in a current storyline.
No, I understand. What I'm saying that the movie, you're right. A lot of the movie audience has never.
The movie
heard
is an
of Miles
adaptation of
Morales.
a currently running thing. This is a reboot.
I would say the movie is not even an adaptation. They are it's almost essentially it's a reboot of the comics. That's what the movies are.
Yeah, the point is the audience that Miles Morales hint at is still active within that fan base, though. That's still an active fan base running concurrently with the movie. Making nods towards that is completely acceptable because those fans are guaranteed to see that movie. And guaranteed to get that reference. That is not the same case here.
Yeah,
This is not being marketed
I'm not
towards
saying
the
we
current.
can't do it. I'm just saying we should be aware that like when you're referencing things that happen in older canon, you do have to be aware of that context. So if you're okay with doing that, then it's cool. But again, it's using Miles Morales it implies that the filmmakers have something in store, and I don't think we have anything in store for this character. So I don't like.
I don't think the filmmakers have anything in store for Miles Morales, to be honest.
You don't? Okay, well, we'll check back in 10 years.
I think
Check
that
back
was
in 10 years.
Specifically, just a little nod. Not as important as Thor's
They
belt.
cast Donald Glover.
Oh, here we go. You want to go about Thor's bell? I'll take you all on.
Thor's belt is meaningless, but like casting a high level actor as okay, sorry.
If anything, that was a nod to frickin' what's his face, Childish Gambino up there, who wanted to play Miles Morales.
That's fair enough. Okay, well, let's see. 10 years. 10 years
I
from
don't
now.
even know. My thing is, like,
yeah, I'm not even denying that a Miles Morales film could be a thing in 10 years. I just don't think that reference had anything to do with it.
Takua as a character has connotations, and you're meant to expect something from him. Pay attention. Okay. Remember this kid for when he shows up hating Tahoe. The next episode.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like this kid is just going to be dropped off the face of the earth. This is a returning character.
This is going to be a returning character.
It's
You're right.
One act.
You're
structure.
right.
I get the logic, especially for a character like we could argue reserving names all day, and 99% of the time I'd be on Mar's side that we shouldn't do it.
That's what I'm saying.
I do agree in this one specific instance. Takua is so important; it does deserve a modicum of thought. I would never want to use Takua in G3 because he's been done to death.
Right. The reason why I'm thinking Beanzag is because he's going to have his own character arc that's nowhere close to what he's doing. Like, it's nowhere going to be as important as Takua is, and he's nowhere going to be the same thing. I feel like it takes away from the character.
Yeah, but once again, you're coming from a G1 perspective. You're too attached to what Takua was in G1.
I'm not too attached to it at all. I'm saying that when we have to keep this in mind as we're doing this. That
I've kept it in mind.
Yeah, I think everybody understands the connotations of what the name Takua can bring to
all
you.
right.
I think everybody here understands Takua's importance to G1 as a story.
I think it's taken away from this character is his
Taking
own
away from
thing.
what character? What character is it taking away from?
No, I'm saying it's taken away from this character of this Takua in here because he's going to go in his separate arc. He's going to hate Tahu. He's going to be part of his soldier in the Civil War. He's going to do all that stuff, right? And that's not going to have any bearing on becoming the seventh Toa, and not going to have any bearing on interacting with Toa, and it's not going to have any deal.
There's already a seventh Toa.
Yeah, there is a seventh Toa. What does the seventh Toa have to do with Takua as a character? How is it taking away from him? It's not. You're just bringing G1 stuff into it again.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
If we ever,
I don't know why it's Takua.
What?
Well, okay, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Why is it Takua though? Why is it Takua as opposed to any other character?
Because it's a name we can use.
Because it's just
you're
a
bringing
name that
G1
people
into it. The
recognize.
same deal. You're pretending like this is.
It's just a name.
Why is it?
It's a character that serves a similar premise.
If we're not doing Takanuva,
Right.
then the spirit of Takua is like this weird guy. This kind of guy who gets on adventures, you know? If you really want to
main
preserve
character,
the
yeah.
spirit of the character, then let's make a side story
I don't want Takua. I don't want Takua
gets
at
into
all.
trouble.
I don't want
I
want
think
Takua at
you're
all.
attached to the seventh Toa idea, but like he doesn't need to be the seventh Toa.
I'm not attached to the seventh Toa idea. I don't even want Takua in the thing. I'm fine with what we have so far.
But you want to save him for the future.
I don't want to save him. I just don't want to use the name Takua.
For what?
Because
What
it
are we
has the
talking
connotation.
for?
It has the connotation. You're using that connotation, and I'm like, yeah. You yourself are taking the connotation of the name in G1 and like, hey, what's bringing in here? And I'm like, that connotation that you're using has a lot more implications than you think. So let's.
I think I know the implications very well. I don't understand what you're trying to reserve the name for, though. I don't understand what you mean by
reserving means we're going to use it for another character.
Mean when you're saying it's taking away from
the
the character.
Everything
What is
just
it? What?
become incoherent babbling.
I mean, yeah. Like, what are we taking away from? I don't understand what you're trying to say.
I'm saying that you are using this name from BIONICLE G1 because of this connotation, right? That you have with the word.
What connotation?
That it's a small village. It's a young Takoran villager that is adventurous and he has the things. He has focused, right?
Okay.
All right. That's what you're taking into it. The problem is the connotation of Takua is way larger than that. Where like the part of Takua's character you're taking into this. The character itself is way bigger. So to avoid that reference entirely and to avoid that connotation, use a different name like Bingzak or like something else that also carries that same connotation of the small kid. But
what does this connotation have to do with our story, though?
Because I get what you're arguing here is that Generation 1 essentially the expectations that people have of Generation 1 have no bearing on what we're going to do with the story. And as long as we're subverting that, like Akimu, I'm fine with us taking those expectations and playing around with them. The problem is we're not playing around with the Takua thing at all. We're not going to do a whole thing where he isn't the chosen one. We're not going to do a thing where he goes on the quest to become the seventh Toa. It turns out that he isn't the seventh Toa.
Why do we need to play around
point.
with those connotations?
Because that's when we're remixing something that came from a previous generation, we have to keep all of that in mind as we're taking it and
Okay.
right.
Can we not just disregard it though?
That's what I don't understand why we couldn't. Like, I'm keeping it in mind. I know that Takua becomes the 7th Toa in G1 when I added that name to the script.
Right, I know. I'm saying you're not taking basically, you're ignoring the history that character has.
Right, and what's wrong with that?
With the fandom.
What's wrong with that?
I mean, I don't think there's anything right with that. Why are you doing that instead of using a different name? Why are you so attached to the Takua name instead of something else?
the flip.
I mean, that's what I'm saying, though. You're trying to flip this on me. I'm like, I feel like that should be the question I'm asking you.
It's a name that we already have established. It's a name that we already have legally claim over. It's a name that we can reuse.
We will never use for anything.
We'll
other
never
than
use
this.
it ever again.
That's
and
fair.
the current role that the character serves in this story is one that is similar to the Takua character from G1. So I think it's a very appropriate usage of that name.
It is not the similar. It's not the same role. The same role is the chosen one.
I didn't say it was. I didn't say it was the same role. I said it was a similar role.
Can we placate
I did.
you,
Yeah,
John?
I didn't name this character Takanuva. I named him Takua. Takua had a very clear role in G1 before he became Takanuva. The character
Can we
that
placate you by making him the Chronicler or something?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm
Alright.
thinking. That you can make this character the Chronicler.
I'm just saying
You
that,
don't
like,
need. He doesn't need to be the 7th Toa. I don't know. I don't know why we keep bringing that up.
He doesn't need to be the 7th Toa, but you're putting an expectation on him by naming something like.
I don't think I am. I don't think there's any expectation
If
that
you
this
named-
character is going to be anything other than just a character.
If you named this character Madanui, there would be obvious implications of that, right? Like there would be the thing about what we're talking about.
I mean, it's not like we have a Madanui here in our story at the moment.
no, we've implied that he's not going to be in the story, but we've implied that his role is like above the thing.
Sure,
Right, but
these are things that we would set up in our story, though.
what I'm getting at is that we are playing with we're not creating our own new theme. We're playing with an established lore from an established thing, which is fine. And we can subvert that and we can change the expectations of that and we don't have to be enslaved
Correct.
to that. However, we also have to be aware
100%.
that certain
It doesn't
names
matter.
have very important connotations and it's not all names.
Of course.
I think
It's just
we've
the
explained
important
it
main
pretty
characters.
I
And
think
Takanuva is a
everybody in
huge,
this call
important
is
character.
aware of that.
Right, but I'm saying you're aware of that and you're ignoring it. That's what I'm saying. And I don't know why you're ignoring it.
That is absolutely correct.
Right. And that's why I'm
The
questioning it. I don't
explanation
know
is
why you're
because
ignoring it when
Takua
you
is
could
a
have.
non-entity.
I feel like I've explained it pretty well. I don't know why we wouldn't ignore it. I don't know why we need to come up with a brand new
Your
name
explanation
for this
is
character.
we're ignoring it because I don't care. That's what it kind of boils down to.
No, I'm ignoring it.
An
I'm ignoring it
aspect
because
that
there's
we
more
have-
to
we will
Takua's
never,
character than just
ever,
Takanuva and the 7th Toa.
So there's no point in reserving that
You're
name
focusing
for
on
anything
one
else.
aspect of this character.
I'm
but there's
focusing
more
on
to
the
him than
big
just
aspect
that.
of that character. That is the aspect of the character is that he become Takanuva. Exactly. That will never ever do. Right.
I mean, honestly,
Exactly.
you're
Right, but there's no point
reminding
in
me a lot
using
of
that name.
LJ right now. To be honest, with
Well,
this
I had to-
attachment to G1's.
I'm not. I wasn't. I don't
Preconceived
care about G1. I'm saying that you got to be aware of the previous canon. Oh,
Yeah, you cannot tell me that you don't care about G1 with the debate that you're
No.
having right now.
No, I'm saying that I don't care about. I'm not saying if we put Takua,
You
he has to become
you
the 7th
care
Toa.
about the connotations of G1. You care about
yeah,
G1.
of course I do. The same way everyone does here. That's why we're making all the Toa the original OG Toa,
I
right?
like Hero Factory better.
Yeah, I know. I know you do. I'm saying that there's a reason why Taku is the Toa Fire here and not a random guy. It's totally it. And also, people were saying that everyone's gonna be on the same page. There's gonna be no more arguments in Brainstorm now. Remember that? People were like, LJ's the only discerning opinion. I'm like, are you sure?
Nope.
You sure about that?
No,
Like we all argue
there
about
will
stuff.
always be fighting.
Now you're
Walk-
just bringing
okay.
salt into it.
Walk made a important thing. He said if Iron Man won, right? Iron Man 1's there and he says, "Hey, your intern's here." And the intern's like, "Hey, what's your name?" And he's like, "I'm Peter Parker." And he never becomes Spider-Man. You see where that's
I mean,
going?
was the
in
name
same-
Takua as mainstream as Peter Parker though?
The closest comparison he's making.
No, of course, Bionicle's not as mainstream as Peter Parker. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah, so then what's
If
like,
they
the big
had
deal?
done
I'm
that
saying-
in a
Takua.
situation where there was some legal gray area where they couldn't use Spider-Man or whatever, I would have been okay with
But
that.
he could use.
Honestly, because there's no other way to use that.
Well,
character.
listen.
We are never going to
Yeah,
have a
I
Toa
mean,
of Light
like,
in our
if-
story. We are never going to have another Toa in our story.
Right.
We are never going to have a Chosen One Matoran in our story. The only purpose Takua can
We're not.
serve is a chronicler or a village outcast or some crazy kid who gets into trouble. And we can do all those things if we
Or
want
we could
to.
just not use the name there. Okay, I mean,
I think those are truer to his character, too. I don't think the seventh Toa and becoming the Toa of Light was the big part of him as a character and a
evolution.
personality.
I think there's an entire movie based around that. Yeah, it's like,
Yeah, as a plot, yes, I get that. But as his character, as a personality, that really didn't serve much to what he was as a person. It was his adventures and his outsideness, the times that he was ostracized by his village, that
That's
set up
outsider
him
house.
as a character. That's
I
what
think
made
you're
him
right.
special.
I think you're completely right with that because Takanuva is not used past Mask of Light basically at all.
Good job,
He doesn't ever come back and anything right. All right. This is as someone.
We already have a Kapura at all the people shot in Kapura. Shut up.
Do we?
Yes.
Wait. Whoa. Who's Kapira?
That's like one person who said it.
Wait. Who's Kapira again?
I don't know. Read the script again.
Okay.
I'm sorry though, but
Okay.
Kapura has a connotation of G1. He's supposed to be the weird, freaky character that can like travel through time and stuff. So we got to make sure that we establish that first before we have a Kapura character.
We don't need the. We don't
Because
need
you can't
Okay.
use the name unless he's an
Listen,
exact
I'm not-
copycat of his G1 counterpart.
I'm not
Am I right,
saying
everybody?
that.
Jeez.
We can twist stuff around.
By the way, let's make Liwa male again because we can't make any kind of tweaks or changes to these characters unless
I'm
they're
not-
exactly like their G1
I'm not
counterpart.
saying that. I'm saying that you can't use a giant name like
We
that.
gotta make
for
sure that
nothing.
Tahu it doesn't actually transform from a Matoran. He has to be a Toa from the start, built by Artaka. By the
You're
way,
like, what
let's
is-
not
you're friggin'
name our
strawmanning this.
island Artaka
You're
because
strawmanning
Artaka is
this,
way
man.
too big of a name.
Right, look at
Artaka
this.
has
Look
way
at
too much
you.
connotation in G1. Using that on an island, what a waste of a
Why
name.
can't we
Yeah.
be friends?
You're
Why
you're
can't
taking a
we
straw
be
man my argument
friends?
and you're like
Why
freaking
can't
battering
we
it.
I
be
like
think
dead
that,
horse.
how is that a straw man? That is
Why
exactly
can't
what
we
you're
be
arguing
friends?
right
That's
now.
not
You're
what I'm
arguing that we
arguing
can't use the name
You,
because it has
you are now
connotations from
saying
G1.
you're now saying that we can't make any tweets and we can make any subversions. Man, what a stupid idea! Yeah, it's a stupid idea.
That's what you're saying.
That's not what
That's
I'm
what
saying.
you're
at all.
saying.
What I'm saying
That is what you're saying.
What I'm
How is
saying.
it not?
Well,
How is it not, dude?
What do you
Come
mean? How
on.
is it not what I'm saying?
You are saying that we can't use the name Takua without any changes because he has way too many connotations from G1. So if we were to make it Takua, he has to have the 7th Toa arc. That implication is there. And if we're not going to have that arc, then we shouldn't use the character.
It's not the 7th Toa arc, but he has to be a main character of some sort because he was a big main
What?
character in G1.
No, he wasn't.
Come on, but Takanuva was not a main character in G1.
You said yourself he wasn't used past Mask of Light.
He wasn't even
really
in the
used-
story.
he had-
for a third of its run.
He wasn't in the story for a third of its run. That's true, but
No. He
Come
was
on!
only in the story for a third of its run. It's even worse.
Takanuva. The same thing happens with the OG Toa too. The Toa
Right.
Nuva are gone. The Toa Nuva and the Toa Nuva.
No,
come
The
back.
Toa
OG
is
Toa
back.
don't even matter that much.
There were more years.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen. We say that, but we started this.
can make changes to our story as much as we want and
We
borrow
can.
from
I'm
names
just-
as much as we
Nuva got
want.
five and a
I
half.
don't
all of that.
understand.
Tanuva got five and a
I just-
half years of relevance. Takua/Takanuva got like 3. I think if you combine all the half years he showed up in. So he literally wasn't even in Bionicle for a third of its run.
Like you have literally convinced people in the audience that we should never use this character ever. Because we can't do a 7th Toa arc with him.
No,
Like, that's
I
ridiculous.
didn't say that.
That's
I
ridiculous.
I didn't say that at all.
That is, I mean,
We
dude,
can't-
come on. That is the crux of what you were arguing right now. We can't use this character unless he's established some kind of story that is relevant to his 7th Toa Chosen One arc. That is the crux of your argument.
My crux of argument is that unless he's a main character, it's not wise to use a main character name for something
you're
that's gonna be
changing it now.
discarded.
You're changing it now. Because that wasn't what you were arguing before. He can be a main
That's
character
always
without
I've
being a
been saying.
chosen one. He can be a returning character without being a chosen one.
Right.
He can be relevant to the story without being the 7th Toa. We haven't written the story yet. Just because he's not Takanuva doesn't mean he's not an important character. The whole point of throwing that name in there is that because this is a character that will show up again.
And this is the thing we're committing to right now. That's why I'm saying be aware of this. We're committing to Takua being a side character that will play a very doesn't have to play the most important part.
Why does he have to play an important role?
Because he's
because it's a name from G1 and G1 has a lot of connotations and we can't have a character named Takua unless he plays an important role.
I bet there are some like.
Do you see how limiting this is?
I don't.
No. Do you see how limiting this is? Do you see how ridiculous it is to stay this true to G1's canon because of some connotation that the name had in an original run, in an original story that we are not writing?
I think it's the same thing as Walk's saying with Peter Parker being in Iron Man 1.
Okay.
If you introduce this kid and
if Peter Parker was in Iron Man 2 with no guarantee that we'd ever see a
retcon. That's retcon. That was never part of it. That literally is never
We
part
can
of it.
retcon Takua. I mean, this isn't going to be an
we can
actual show.
If we retcon Takua, then that's perfectly fine. Sure. I mean, if later on we're like, hey, this character was Takua.
I would have no issue.
The kid's always been named Takua.
Being in Iron Man 1
fine.
If there were extenuating circumstances. If they were going to blatantly waste a plan for a Spider-Man character, I'd probably be annoyed if there were no plans.
It's the same thing for me. For in Spider-Man Homecoming, I complained about why is he not Gonke? Why is he Ned Leeds? Right?
Yeah.
That makes no sense. We all agree that makes no sense. Why would you not use this name?
I do like the logic that some of our patrons have that apparently because so many people are against me that I should just drop my argument and be be into one side.
If that was how this worked,
welcome to being on the leg debate, Vi. Welcome to being on my side.
Right? Yeah. No, I feel your pain now. That's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard.
Right. It's like just because everyone says you're wrong doesn't mean you're actually wrong. Your argument still has value. Yeah.
I feel I had a point there. I just lost it.
We're not recording the chat, so you don't see how many people are arguing.
Oh no!
But a lot of people are saying this.
Yeah, we don't have that yet set up for Brainstorm.
We don't have that.
I feel that for all we know, there could be a lot of hardcore Rahaga fans out there who just get really annoyed that we're using them for the rock sheet.
Well, I mean, okay,
but we're not going to cater to them.
The names do come in tiers, right? There's some names that we can change a lot of things about that character, and we can tweak a lot of stuff. And then as you go up a little, then you have to be like, okay, there are some things that are associated with this character we need to keep. Tahu's always going to be someone related to fire, right? Like that has I feel like if you change that, it's a bit too far of a tweak. If you make him ice and Tahu's the toe of ice, it seems and even if I think with Leela we could change it. With Pohatu we could change that element, but Tahu and his relatively closeness to fire I feel are so ingrained of that character that if we change that would be this change that
I just don't if you want this character to be a mainstay, then you can make him a mainstay. Well, it's the first episode. There's no one has said that he's not going to be a main character. No one said that he would be a main character. We are writing the story right now.
And that's what I meant by being aware. That being aware means that you have to understand you are committing now to this though.
I see a lot of potential reward in story avenue, and I see very little risk.
Here's my thing.
Sure, this character will be he will return.
Well,
I never had the intention of him not returning. But with that said, I still think your argument is very silly, and I think you're limiting yourself quite a lot for something that really doesn't matter.
I think you're being
especially not to the people that this would be targeted towards.
I think you're being hypocritical of your argument because what you're saying we've done literally this entire time. We keep doing this again and again and again. We started and we're going to make it the original Toa, 2001 Toa. Why? Because there's that connotation G1. All right, we're going to have the villain be Makuta. Why? Because it's a connotation G1. We've been doing this. We've been remaking
because I like
BIONICLE.
Those characters from G1.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's all. And I'm the one writing the story. And I liked Tahu, so I wanted to make Tahu a main character. I don't really care about Takua. We have Ariki as the 7th Toa instead.
Yeah. If you remember, we actually chose the Toa.
We chose
the G1 Toa for audience recognition because it was a fan project. Actually,
we also did. We did. To be fair, we did think about it.
I wanted to change the name. I didn't want to stick with the original Toa.
That is fair.
You were the one pushing for that.
Yes.
It was a necessary evil.
That's fair. But
so I don't think I'm being that hypocritical at all.
No, I think the entire project is based on remixing something, and as you're remixing everything, it's not that you need to be tied down to anything. I think what you're arguing a straw man where I'm saying, guys, we can't do this, right? Akimu has to be a good character, guys. We can't let Akimu be somewhat evil because he was good in the old one. He has to be good in this one. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying you're exaggerating restrictions.
I don't understand how you think that that's not what you're saying. Why can't we use Takua as a throwaway character?
Because of the importance that character has. Right.
To what?
To the original canon.
To the history of Bionicle, to G1, right?
There's a difference between the importance of something and exactly how it's executed. I'm not saying that we necessarily need to be beholden to the execution and every whim that happened in G1. I'm saying that importance needs to line up. So if you're using a character that was really important in the old one, you have to at least give it a decent amount of attention in this new one. Else there's no point to using the same name again. That's all I'm saying.
Just like how Transformers Animated really gave all the importance to Wheeljack, am I right? That beloved character from G1 that everybody really loved who
you can enhance a character, but it's not like they said, oh by the way, Optimus Prime is just random dude. On the other side, Bumblebee is a random car.
Literally, Optimus Prime kind of was just a random dude in Animated, really.
He was the main character. What are you talking about? He's the main character in Animated.
No importance.
He's not like.
Oh yeah,
he
wasn't
also
like
wasn't the supreme leader of the.
He was a regular guy.
Yeah, no, he's the main character. That's all I'm saying. He doesn't. I'm not saying his role or anything. He doesn't need Takua in this one. Doesn't even need to be the chronicler. He just needs to have importance.
I will placate you by giving Takua a story serial. Is that a fair compromise? The Adventures of the Misadventuring Takua, the Rebel Atomic.
I mean, he could be like a reoccurring
He doesn't need to be adventuring. He doesn't need to be all this.
Every now and then.
I'm just saying.
I mean, I can't agree with you at all here.
Much in the same way that I'm
struggling to try and figure out what you're getting at.
Think about the Transformers movies, right? You have to have Optimus Prime and Bumblebee. And they can't be
No, you
characters.
don't! Bumblebee hasn't been a main character in anything since the movies.
People dislike that. I wish they'd do some variety.
No one even likes Bumblebee.
I would not say that.
Much in the same way that I advocated for...
Okay, that was you. Okay. you gravitated towards the point that wasn't the main point. I like how you did that. Anyways, that's
what you've been doing this entire time, buddy. What's a pot calling the kettle black?
Come on.
What?
Are you serious?
I advocated for the villain in...
Apparently, I don't know what your point is then, because I have no idea what you want out of this. Apparently, there are characters in G1 that we cannot use in any way that is subverting what their purpose in G1 was.
It's a double standard. I at least view it that way. It's like there are certain characters who are so important that they break rules, is basically what he's getting at, which is, if we're going to use this character, he has such a history, we have to pay respect to them. I don't really agree. I don't value Takua anymore.
They don't need to be the same.
Those Transformers movies sure show a lot of respect.
I also feel that if you boil
characters.
out all of Takua's traits, there are more than just the chosen one that we can work with. And also, much in the same way that I supported the villain intro with Norik, I think that just getting rid of Takua offhandedly, I feel sets a precedent for how our universe is going to be different. Some people might be angry, but some people are always going to be angry at changes. I feel like getting that out of the way straight away. It's a sign of change. And variety.
Progress. I mean, like it's not. Again, we don't have to be. I'm
still saying let's turn Leo back to a male.
What?
She has to.
We can play around.
He has to retain everything that he had in G1. We gotta make sure we keep all those arcs.
Listen, Leela can be male, he can be female. Tahu can be male, Tahu can be female. But they're also going to be the main characters.
Just be a chronicler.
They're also going to be the main character. Takua can be anything. You can write him to be anything. But the moment you start using the name Takua, you are saying this character is important. Pay attention to them. The moment you say the name Peter Parker, you're like, this kid is important. Pay attention to him. Peter Parker could not become Spider-Man.
Who saw G1.
Yes, that's okay. You know, it's like at the end of the Power Rangers, you don't just have the random kid to have the same name as the Green Power Ranger in that movie. They're bleeding up to that, right?
Tommy?
Yeah, Tommy.
I actually think they've done that several times.
In the new movie, there's only been one new movie, dude.
What is your...
What? Okay, yes, there's only been one movie, but do you realize how many Power Rangers series there have been? They reboot that franchise like every 2 years. Did you think there was just Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and then a new movie?
I kind of
did. You think nothing was happening in the past 17 years?
I thought it was, I don't follow Power Rangers, so fair enough. I was talking specifically about the new movie. To be fair, when I brought that up, I
Okay.
said in the new movie. So I wasn't talking about the previous stuff. Like, in that new movie, at the end, where they're like, "Oh, hey, Tom," like they're all hanging out, and they're like, they get the I don't know, it's like a phone call or
Yes.
something.
How does this
Right.
conversation and these points apply to MJ in Homecoming? And your thoughts on that, if it does at all? I'm curious.
Oh man,
Whether
MJ's
you
a
liked
big
or
deal
disliked it.
I
how-
don't think it's comparable to Marvel, which is currently running with the current series with fans who are
Yeah,
still
fair.
tied to the current story with all the 616 canon still
It was the
being
closest
relevant
comparison I could make.
and them adapting
listen,
that.
I'm-
It's not comparable. The people who are going to watch this show are not the people who are going to care about the canon of G1.
I'm not saying they're going to care about the canon. I'm saying there's stuff that's going to be recognized that's going to
No,
be
it's
seen.
not. No one knows who Takua is,
You
dude.
listen, you're going from the opposite thing. I totally agree with you that Bionicle is not comparable to Marvel. They're not the same level of pop culture icon that everyone is aware of their canon. But at the same time, you're going on the opposite end. We're like, no, we're going to a new universe where no one's ever heard of Bionicle. And it's like, that's not true. That's not gonna.
That's the audience we're aiming this towards, though.
We're aiming to people who don't have in full knowledge or maybe have not seen the entirety of Bionicle. That's true. But that doesn't mean that we're going to be like this show is going to go out in a vacuum where you can't even go up and look up where these people are, where you can't even go and do any research online, or you can't, or there's people who are going to be watching this show that also didn't know G1, because there will be people watching this show, a good amount of people,
and they won't be the core demographic watching it.
If I was watching this show, I would definitely, being an old fan who's not the core demographic, I would totally expect a Seventh Toa thing if Takua showed up in the story. But when that was revealed to be a swerve, and it was a different Seventh Toa concept instead, I can't speak for anybody else, I would not be mad. I would be pleasantly surprised by a
Totally fine with
subversion
that.
of past history. I might not be
Subversion,
it
what?
might just be a me thing. It's very difficult to quantify an opinion like that.
I mean, I'm clearly fine with
But
that, so.
it is not inherently bad to subvert expectations in that way. Takua does have a lot of fans. He was quite integral to the original G1 story, but for every person who's annoyed at it, there might be people who view it in a positive light.
Here's what I'll say, Meso, to your previous thing. My thing is, like, I think they subverted, like, doing MJ and Zendaya worked well. The stupid thing was saying, oh, she's not Mary Jane
Agreed.
for like 8 months beforehand. That was stupid.
I agree.
They should just committed, gone with it, and that would have been fine. But again, if you use MJ in a Spider-Man movie, that person, by nature, is gonna have to, like, she's gonna be an important character, right? MJ and Mary Jane, Zendaya is gonna be an important character, and if she never shows up again in any of the future movies, that is going to be like, you know, people are going to be mad about that. People are going to be like, why are you throwing away MJ?
I have two things. Mononui 606 replied, Messinac, were you pleasantly surprised by Deadpool and X-Men Origins Wolverine? Number one, I haven't watched the movie. But number two, I do know of that plot twist in which you're referring to. The reason why that's different is because they just took away. They didn't replace with anything. You know what I mean? If they replaced Deadpool with an equally interesting, fresh, and fun take on the character or the concept of Deadpool, but maybe went by a different name, it wouldn't be as bad. But they didn't. They butchered the character and left nothing to fill the void. Why did
also
they
that
butcher the character? What was gained by not going with traditional Deadpool? Nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, that character was also a main character in that story, and yet was still completely ruined. They took out every aspect of that character that made sense to that character, despite giving him the attention that he should have been given.
It's a concept versus execution. What it came down to is that the Deadpool that you see at the very end, is nowhere close to what everyone thinks of when they think of Deadpool. And so it's like, why are you using this again? Or kind of why are you adapting this character badly? Is what it came down to.
Yeah.
Now I don't think that's comparable to what we're talking about exactly. I think Deadpool's a very different character than Takua is.
Polar end of the spectrum. It's
Because
how something like this could be
Takanuva
done.
does become very generic. After he becomes Takanuva, he becomes a bit more of a generic character. I don't feel he retains
He
that same
loses,
kind
like,
of
all
like
of his
quirky,
personality.
wide-eyed wonder that Takua had. Takanuva is, but like that's such an important part of that character's thing. The same way I would say, Peter Parker becoming Spider-Man is such an important part of that. It's just or Mary Jane being 11 inches of Peter Parker is such a big part of that. There are certain, you can boil away everything else with this character. You can even subvert the main point of this character. But if you don't do anything with it entirely, that's when people think you've wasted it.
Well, let's do something then.
So Zendaya may never get together with Peter Parker, but she has to be in the next 3 movies. Else they've thrown away that thing entirely.
Takua might never become the Toa of Light, but he can become a cool Matoran sidekick.
Right.
I don't think that's an
chained
unfair
down.
thing to say. I don't think that
That's
Bar ever said
that's
that
all
was
I've been
never
saying.
going to
You
happen.
don't need to be chained.
That's not all
That's
you've
not gonna be
been
a
saying,
thing.
because that was never in debate.
That was not what you were saying.
I said at the beginning, hey, be aware
we
of
were
this.
aware!
That's what I
You
meant.
have changed. No, we are aware. You've changed your argument like 3 times.
I have clarified. This is my thing. All right. Either I take like 50 minutes to clarify what
we
I'm
all
saying,
have
and you guys
stated
are like,
we were
you
aware
talk too
several
much,
times.
or I just cut myself off and let you guys
You
finish,
think I
and I
was
don't get to my
joking
point.
when I said
and
make
then,
a cereal? I wasn't. I'm fine with giving him role in the story.
you want to do the cereal
I'm
mess?
not a
You want to do
serial.
that?
I roll as a side character in a
Takua
game, a
O's.
side quest. It's fine. We have these characters in the world for a reason. We can use them in roles that are true to themselves. Like if we ever put Nuparu into the story, sure, they'll be an engineer.
We can use any of these characters as many times
Sure,
as we
Nuparu
want.
can build a
Can do it.
freaking mech,
Yeah.
you know, but that doesn't mean he has to like build the plot armor mech.
right.
But the Boxor,
Right, you're right. Right, exactly.
it's fine. It's cool. It's all about levels and how you interpret.
Right.
So that's script. Huh?
Anyway.
no,
Kind of a
it's over.
That's going to that's going to wrap up this episode of Brainstorm.
God help.
For those of you who are afraid, oh, everyone's going
May
to be on the
God
same
have
mind when
mercy on our
brainstorm.
souls.
No. TTV's always argued, and we're going
As
to
it
continue
turned
to
out,
do it.
Kahi had bad ideas before. He has bad ideas now.
Oh boy. Someone's real
There's
salty.
no need to be salty, Var.
It was just a joke. It
Legit
was just a
comedy.
joke.
I wonder if do you think people are going to think we have beef after this and the Brickfeed one?
Oh yeah, they absolutely. People think we have beef right now. They're like, TTV ever since Brainstorm,
Tearing
TTV's
each
been
other
fighting.
apart.
I've been
Tearing each other
over at your
apart.
house too much. You're like, I'm done. I can't stand this
John
anymore.
spilled something in Var's house.
I spilled that freaking. What was it? The sandwich. I spilled a bit of sandwich
Yeah, you
on
did.
your floor.
How do you
That
spell
was
sandwich?
annoying. I don't know.
Sloppy Joes are messy,
Yeah.
but
It wasn't a sloppy
It
joke.
wasn't a sloppy Joe. No, that would have been worse because that would have gone everywhere. Just like there's
Leave
like
your
a bit of sauce
thoughts
dye
in the
right there.
comments section below.
You also completely destroyed my microwave. I don't know how you did that,
I didn't use your microwave.
dude. You used my microwave.
are you sure it wasn't Ben?
Vin wasn't here. It was only
wasn't
John.
here.
Are you
Wait,
sure
wait.
you didn't do it?
I am absolutely sure.
What's
I
wrong
opened
with your
the door.
microwave?
I opened the door to use my microwave, and there was just I don't know, soup or something everywhere.
That is why I didn't use your microwave, dude.
Dude, what?
Okay.
I opened it and I was like, "Oh, dude, there's a mess in here. I'm not gonna."
Great
That's why.
microwave.
Dude, it had to have been you, man. I didn't use it.
You made ramen.
I didn't use the microwave. I
Okay,
used the
the
stove every
great
time I made
microwave
ramen.
that
I
Wait,
literally.
fair enough. Fair enough. All
I
right.
only ever ate ramen while you were here. The one time I was going to use my microwave, I opened it up and there was soup everywhere.
That's I thought that your microwave is broken. That's why I didn't like that. That's why we went out to eat so much because I'm like, oh, I can't make my microwavable stuff.
That's
you know?
not true. You go out to eat every
Can
time.
the
You're here.
Torin have microwaves? Let's tie this back in.
That's true. But I mean, if I went out to eat all the time, then what did I microwave?
Dude, you brought home your own ramen and
See,
stuff.
that's the thing. You
you
probably
like
I didn't microwave it.
you probably bought some ramen and was like,
Purple.
one
Dude.
bite. Oh, gotta nuke it in the microwave. Oh,
Guy,
one
you
bite.
gotta re-microwave it
cannot
again.
lie
Gotta
to me
heat it
right
up.
now and pretend like you didn't use my microwave. You bought microwavable
Okay,
ramen.
okay, it's not.
No, I did. I took it home.
You did. You bought the microwavable bowls. You ate out of them. I know because you left your trash.
So if you're so inclined, please leave your thoughts on Takua and the utilization
Let
of G1 names and characters.
Hold
in
up,
your
hold up. I'm
roles.
thinking.
We're very interested in feedback on that.
Whatever you cooked in my microwave exploded, and you didn't use a cover, despite it being on top of the microwave.
So purple.
The
Microwave.
ramen.
Anyway, this is gonna,
The
this is gonna
ramen
wrap
is
up.
just boiling. Okay, no,
This is going to wrap up this episode of Brainstorm, everybody. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you enjoyed our arguments, our banter,
Enjoy the story
and
Bible.
our
It's our gift
silliness.
to you.
Story Bible hasn't been
Never mind.
released publicly yet, so don't enjoy the Story Bible. Only the patrons get to enjoy the
Never
Story
mind.
Bible.
Don't enjoy.
What you can enjoy is, I guess, not a script, because we can't release that yet either, because no one read it.
I read it to the duration of the episode.
I read it.
What you get
I'm done
to... Well, we have to rewrite it anyway. So what you get to enjoy is essentially nothing. Thanks for joining us, and I hope you guys have a great time. Next week, I'm sure we will come prepared. Purple, I think you had a lot to say this episode, so I'm sure next week we'll have to...
I don't like
Figure
it
out
when
how to-
people fight.
I'll have to bring in all of these creative ideas that you inspired about this one. I do appreciate you backing me up at points.
And I appreciate it too, Purple.
What?
You're a good
You
friend.
appreciate me? I backed up both of you.
No, I'm being sarcastic towards Purple.
Messa, I
I'm
don't care about
genuinely
you.
appreciative.
Okay,
towards you.
listen, I have a really hard time taking people seriously when they're yelling about plastic bricks, okay? This has been an
Well,
ongoing
you're in the
thing.
wrong group.
Yeah, I know. Maybe
Why are you triggered? I'm actually like saying thank you for backing me up.
I'm yeah, I don't know. That's
What happened? What did I say?
I don't know. I wasn't trying to back anyone up in specifically. I just wanted you guys to stop yelling at each other.
The audience likes it when we fight, Purple. We gotta put on a show.
I don't know if they do.
I kind of feel like they do.
know.
I think they
I
got
don't really
kind
care
of.
what the audience
I
likes.
kind of think they're tired of doing the leg debate, but like whenever people scream at each other, routinely in our top
Not
10
during
moments,
this show, man.
it's Var screaming at somebody for something. That's like always in our top 10 moments.
That's true.
That's true.
So I think they do like it. Anyhow,
They pretend like they don't.
yeah.
Like,
Can
but I
we
don't
use
like
Mata
them.
Nui as some random ice villager?
No, it's
I think that'd be funny.
That would be hilarious, dude.
It would just
I
be
actually
some
kind of want to do
random
that.
Mata Nui. Hey, dude, how you doing?
I honestly want to do that now. This argument made me want to do that.
All right,
Who's a really important character we can throw away?
Mata Nui.
Takua. All right, everybody. This has been Brainstorm. I'm Var.
I'm Messa.
I'm Jonathan.
I'm purple.
And this has been Brainstorm episode 6, 7, and or 8.
Six.
Who knows? Episode 6. We'll see you next week. Bye.